And now, ladies and gentlemen, we move towards the 7th session of the 11th edition of AiM Conference and Exposition, and the last session for today. So we're talking about new essential elements for emerging hospitality market in MEP. Now, hospitality property like hotels and resorts definitely have different spaces like ballrooms, guest room, restaurants, central kitchen, all of that. And each of these different spaces definitely require a specific MEP system to meet the functional intent. Thus, MEP systems in hospitality property also really plays a very pivotal role in bringing together the luxury, the comfort, and security for the guests during their stay in the property as well. So this panel will dwell and dive deeper into what are some of the new essential elements for emerging markets in hospitality market in MEP. So, ladies and gentlemen, please, with a big round of applause, I'd like you to welcome our moderator for this session, the director of Udayan Chowdhury and Associates, Mr. Kunal Chowdhury, on stage. He's a mechanical and automation engineer by qualification. He has successfully delivered several prestigious projects in India and all around the world. He's also a guest lecturer in renowned architectural and engineering institutions, as well as a published author with 2 titles to his credit. He has also worked extensively with MNCs and renowned global brands for the last 13 years. We're very glad to have Mr. Kunal with us as our moderator. Thank you very much. I would now like to call upon our first panelist, Mr. Ashok Ganju, Principal Consultant, IMPC Consultants Private Limited, to join this session up on the stage. Mr. Ganju is an accomplished professional with over 30 years of total experience in developing and managing AV, IT, security, acoustics services in various types of projects. And over the years, Mr. Ashok has enhanced his skills and gained expertise in providing consultancy services for hospitality industry, airports, institutional campuses, and corporates. We'd like to welcome Mr. Ashok as a panelist for this session. Can we have a big round of applause for him as well? Thank you very much. Next, I'd like to call upon our second panelist, Mr. Neel Kamal Chauhan, founder of HPTS Consulting, to join us in this session. He's a recognized name in the field of kitchen consulting and is known for his innovative ideas in designing show and interactive kitchens. He's also an expert in food service planning for hotels, resorts, health care, food services, and corporate catering facilities as well. We're very glad to have Mr. Neel Kamal Chauhan with us as well. Thank you very much. We'd like to call upon our third panelist, Mr. Praveen Agrawal, the General Manager of Engineering, Lemon Trees Hotels Limited, to please join us on this session. He's an electrical engineer from Bhopal, has an experience of 25 years in the hospitality sector, and has worked with big brands like the Oberoi, Grand Hyatt, Starwood, and now Lemon Tree Hotels. We're very glad to have Mr. Agrawal's expertise with us in this panel. I would now like to call upon our fourth panelist, Mr. Rajneesh Agrawal, partner of PDA Consultants, to join us in this session. He's an engineering graduate from the Institute of Management Technology, Ghaziabad, and has an experience of over 25 years in providing MEP services for various projects like hotels, hospitals, residential projects, educational institutes, and we're very glad to have Mr. Rajneesh Agrawal with us today. We'd like to welcome our fifth panelist, Mr. Sunil Khemani, the director of Aufet International Engineering Studio, to join us as a panelist in this session. He's the founder and principal consultant. His company has been involved in more than 200 projects, including hospitals, hotels, retail, residential projects, and we're very glad to have Mr. Sunil with us in this panel discussion. We're eager to hear what he has to bring forth to the table as well. I'd now like to invite our sixth panelist, Mr. Prem Thakur, on stage to join us in this panel, Vice President of Technical Services at the Indian Hotels Company Limited, an accomplished hotelier with a demonstrated history of working in the hospitality industry with a strong focus on leadership, team management, technical services. He's also a committed multiculturalist, and we'd like to welcome Mr. Prem Thakur with us. Ladies and gentlemen, the stage is all set for the last session of the 11th edition of AiM. We hope that you will engage in this discussion very actively, and I would now like to hand over this session to our moderator.
Thank you so much. Good evening, everybody, and I know it's the last session of AiM 2023. It's been, I think a very nice, AiM. We've learned a lot of new things across all the 6 sessions before us. The last session apparently is the most boring because I think the engineering people, work behind the scenes mainly, and most of our stuff gets hidden behind these beautiful ceilings and, so people don't see what we do generally, but trust me, we work very hard. So I would like to, start this session and keep it a little light because I don't want to keep you away from your cocktails. So I want to start with Prem. Prem, we are talking about emerging trends in new hospitality, in the industry post-COVID. A lot of changes have happened. The whole experience is changing. We heard a lot about, how millennials, their expectations are different these days, from hotels. So what's your take from a brand perspective on this, please?
Hi, good evening. Before I get to the question asked, I really like what Sunil calls his company as engineering studio, not engineering consultants. So what I would say is, we should not call yourselves as MEP consultants, we are MEP designers. We play equally important role like other designers on the project. So hats off to you guys. So before I get to the question, what I think is MEP designers play an important role. They should collaborate with the main architect and designers right from day one, so that they can provide inputs in initial stages, like be it compartmentation, be it building heights, so that you can zone the building in various forms, various levels, sizing of equipment rooms, plant rooms, be it passive architecture, where you can really reduce the heat loads, benchmarking to the lowest EPI, so that your OPEX costs are low. So it's always prudent to have the MEP designers involved right from day one. Getting back to your question, Kunal, I think we have a lot to learn. We have spoken about sustainability a lot, but it's high time we should learn from other industries. Case in point is we should learn from aviation industry. Like we could do something like DG Yatra. DG Yatra is a seamless check-in at the airports. We should do something like that so that the guests can seamlessly check in into the hotels. They don't need to wait at the check-in counters. No need to give Aadhaar cards or passport. They can upload it and with a mobile key they could check in. We should think differently, something like these. Like Make My Trip has seat selections, food selections, all add-ons. I should be able to choose my room, choose the view from the room. I should be able to do a virtual tour of the hotel before I really book my hotel. We have to think differently. There's a great scope to learn from other industries, I would say.
So thanks, Prem, for that. Praveenji, your thoughts on this?
So, as far as the lemon tree is concerned, we are just designing the most sustained design. So, in terms of the equipment, in terms of so that it should be the sustainable product, okay. And also same times the operational efficiencies, Sir said, how to achieve the lowest EEI. As of now, what we are getting is like the EI, initially what we are getting the EEI was 2.12. Now we are sitting at 1.67. So by the experience, by the practices, we are trying to reduce that footprint. At the end of the day, we have to reduce the carbon footprint and the water footprint. So our design is so sustained, so that we can achieve the goal or the target. Yeah.
Kimani sir, how about you? Emerging trends, new technologies coming into hospitality and MEP. Floor is yours, sir.
Yeah, thanks, Kunal. I'll just digress a bit from what you asked. When we go for design coordination meetings, we always start with an architectural presentation, followed by operators' comments, which takes up about 2 to 3 hours. And then there is interior presentation. And in the last, when it's about to leave, and the flight is taking off, 15 minutes, MEP is given. And that tradition has been followed even here. Thank you. So, anyways, coming back to your question, I would just add to what Praveen ji talked about. See, we've been talking about sustainable designs for a very, very long time now, and I think now most of the brands have actually made it mandatory for everyone to be compliant with some kind of green certification. I would just like to go a step further and try and dwell upon, let's deep dive into what exactly do we mean by net zero building, or carbon zero, or carbon negative, or climate positive. So these are all interrelated terms, and the world is actually moving towards that. Let's talk about first net zero carbon. So basically a net zero building is the amount of carbon dioxide emission or greenhouse gas emission that we make. We have to compensate by either generating our own power, or if we are not able to do that for some reason due to space constraint or whatever, then we have to buy carbon credits. Incidentally, the government of India has now opened up carbon credit trading. And very soon, in my opinion, it's probably 5 to 7 years, it would become mandatory for everyone to register in this trading, carbon trading. And if any building is falling short of the credit ratings, the building owner will have to pay for the carbon credits, which he will buy from the open market. And the open market, the carbon credit again is a fluctuating rate. It's not a fixed rate. Depending on the demand and supply, the carbon credit rates vary. Okay? So this is where we are moving. So that's net zero. Then we talk about zero carbon. Zero carbon is when your building is not taking anything from outside and not giving anything to outside. There is one building I know which is a very small building, but that's been made as a example, as a sample building, where everything is generated through solar, and you have your own waste treatment plant. You're not generating any waste, you're not giving it outside. You also have, let's say, rainwater harvesting. You're not letting any water outside the site. No soil erosion, nothing. So that's called zero. Now we talk about carbon negative. So carbon negative is something when you are not only generating less carbon footprint, but you are actually giving it back, and you're actually carbon negative. You're actually, you're buying, you have more carbon, less carbon footprint than what you're generating. So that's what carbon positive is, and there is one country in the world which is carbon negative right now, and that's Bhutan. And India aims to be a carbon zero, or let's say net zero, by 2070. So look at the difference that we are in. Coming back to the emerging trends on our topic, so between HVAC and laundry and kitchen, that consumes about 60% of the power of the entire hotel building. And the next innovations that are going to happen or happening will happen in these three fields. We've already into LED lighting. LED load of the lighting load of the entire hotel now is not even 1/10 of what it used to be 10 years ago. So we are now moved away from lighting, and we're talking about only the air conditioning and kitchen and laundry. So we have magnetic levitation chillers, we have distribution pumping. So we earlier had secondary pumping with VFDs. that got replaced with primary. Now we have primary plus terminal pumps installed next to the terminal units. So that's called distributed pumping. That actually would even give more energy saving. So then there is magnetic levitation, as I said, and the power consumption there is very, very low. So we are going to see all these innovations come up. Thank you.
Thank you. So I think, sir, what you referred to in terms of decarbonization or net zero, I think that's very apt for this part of the world. For India, for Nepal, this part of the world, the culture is to save. We've been there for 5,000 years plus, maybe more, because I visited Pashupatinath temple last time I was here, and I asked my friend who took me, how old is the temple? And he was like, ye Shrishti ke beginning se hai, something like that. So it's been there for God knows when. So we've been here for so long, we'll stay here so long. So I think sustainability is ingrained in our psyche. Ranish, how about
just
you?
one more
Please.
point that comes to my mind right now is, just for your understanding, we are generating in India, 70% of our power is met through coal, and every kilowatt hour of the power that we consume in India is adding 850 grams of CO2 in the atmosphere. Compared to a nuclear power, that's adding only 15 grams. Solar is zero. So that's where we are.
Thank you, sir. Ranish, your thoughts?
Thank you, Kunal. I have been, blessed to have been listening to such an elite gathering here, and people since yesterday, they have been sharing very, very valuable thoughts. For me, the MEP for hospitality per se will change in many, many phases. Many things will change. First of all, the technology will keep on evolving. It'll keep on improving. Today we have magnetic levitation chillers, ceramic bearings. Tomorrow we'll have something more better, and we'll go on being more efficient. There is no doubt about it. Hotel industry has been very, very relaxed in the earlier years. Today is more competitive. Today there are more hotels coming, the business getting more competitive. That is why we are having these conferences and talking about energy. We are talking about more sustainability, responsibility. So I think in addition to the technology, what will have to change and what will change is our mindsets. First of all, like I said yesterday, we all carry this monkey on our shoulders, as designers, the architects, consultants, owners, that we have to reduce the energy, We are responsible. We have to rope in our guests as well. As I said yesterday, we will have to make them a part of our team. Every guest who consumes lesser energy or water shall have to be recognized, he will have to be felicitated, he'll have to be, really honored, because not only is he consuming lesser power and energy in your premises, but he's also going home and improving his habits at home, because you're making him aware and knowledgeable. Another thing which will have to immediately change, and probably will all have to be the catalyst, is the government mindset on hotel industry. We are amongst us, we are the best of the hoteliers here, the brands, the designers. The way hotels are looked upon, it's still colonial. Can anybody in this gathering, many of us are staying here, how many people took a bath twice today? Or how many people use the toilet 3 times today? Just because you're at a hotel? Then why does our code, building code, says that the water consumption of a hotel has to be 3 times than your house? Have we ever raked up this in our mind? Why the environmental clearance, when we go, it says that a 4-star or a higher category needs 320 liters of water as against 135 liters as at your home. We are not going to consume more water just because, how many of us will sit in the bathtub? Very few of us. So I think it is high time when we as a community take our data, approach the government and say that, see, we are not consuming so much of water, we are not consuming 3 times water, please don't let let us be so stressed. We are building bigger tanks, bigger pumps, bigger STPs, We are not generating so much of sewage. First of all, we are responsible to make our water clean because the government may not be able to give you potable water. Because the government is not able to give us reliable power supply, we have to put our own gensets. Thirdly, we can't put our sewage into the drain like the residences do. Our residences do not have STPs, and their number of residences and toilets are much higher than hotels put together. So I think that mindset has to change, that we have to downsize. I do not see any reason why hotel water consumption per person should be higher than your home, which is less than half. So when we are building a hotel, we increase our capex. Similarly, the mandates like electrical vehicle, in Gurgaon, the government is today making mandatory 20% of your total parking should be on EV. Now, were we selling petrol to the people when they were coming to our hotels earlier? We were not. Then why are we selling electricity? Why are we mandated? Every EV charging point adds 7.5 kilowatts of power to my design. And if I have 50 cars, it's almost 500 kilowatts kV of, transformer and genset, for which I'll have to pay a recurring mandatory charge. See, we cannot challenge many policies, and I don't, but the water definitely. And also, I heard Mr. Tikku saying some valuable points on IT. I see a lot of transition happening in terms of our ICT technologies merging. He mentioned that today 50 watts can be put on PoE. So we are doing projects where we are doing 90 watts per circuit, which means all the lights in your room do not need electrical cabling at all. You don't need electrical cables in your room. All your lights can be on data cables. And not only you're doing away with your cables, but you're also making all of your lights intelligent because they're all on internet, all on your network. So each and every light can be controlled directly with your mobile apps. So that takes away your entire lighting automation. This is a big thing which is going to happen in the immediate next 2 years. All your lights will be on IT. And this is what will be quite a change. It will be safer. You'll not have electrical flow into your ceilings or your walls or your switches. I think another important thing which we will have to do as MEP designers is that we'll have to be realistic. We'll have to understand every hotel is not same. Some are tourist destinations, some are working hotels, some are, every climate is different, every load profile is different. So if I'm doing probably a courtyard or a Hyatt place, then probably people will not be in the room in the day. So that, the thought of, designing on the hottest day at 4 p.m. for the total heat load is going to overstress my design. It will going to increase. Last point I would like to say is that we all are under a mindset that MEP is 1/3 of a project cost. No, it is not. MEP is higher than everything else put together. The capital cost of MEP could be 1/3 of the total hotel project cost. But when you add up the energy which is going to consume on the next 15 years, you will find it will be more than your interiors and your cost of construction, everything. So we'll have to be aware, we'll have to give it a little more respect, we'll have to be a little more conscious in our design, and we'll all have to really design good hotels so that we can really look at a long-term horizon and do a better job.
Sorry, I would like to add Rajnish's point. It's your manning cost. So 30% doesn't make any sense. It has to be optimally designed.
Absolutely. Thanks, Rajnish, for that. I feel a little more proud of being an MEP consultant also. I think you put a lot of perspective on that. So I'll now take it to Neil, my good friend. And Neil, I know we're talking about MEP, but there's a lot of, especially when it comes to electrical load, etc. There's a lot of tussle between us, air quantities, etc. in kitchen ventilation, because you gave us a number. We always struggle with the ductwork. So where are we going now? What's the next new thing in kitchens? Are we going towards a smarter kitchen?
A kitchen consultant among all these MEP consultants, the feeling is like a 4-burner range next to a DG set. Future is moving towards smart kitchens now. We have a lot of equipment which is multi-purpose. So in the same equipment you can do frying, in the same equipment you can do your pressurized pan, you can use it as a griddle plate, and the chef can monitor the equipment on his smartphone. And because it's electrically operated equipment, it can be very precise, the product can be very precise, and you can save a lot of energy. Especially if we talk about the exhaust, because the biggest consumption is exhaust hoods, ventilation in the kitchens. So we have smart technologies like remote sensing of exhaust hoods. The manufacturer can remotely monitor the operations of the hood. He can sense if there are some requirements for proactive maintenance. He can send a message to your chief engineer that certain maintenance needs to be done in the hood. We now are moving from your conventional hoods, we move to the UV filters. Now from UV filters, the future is biotechnological filters, which are just clay balls encased in a box, fitted into your hood, and those clay balls will filter your grease as well as your smoke. So that's a very innovative thing, and I'm sure next in thing in exhaust would be these biotechnological hoods. And of course the demand control ventilation, which is very, very useful, which saves around 30% to 40% of your power. That's a very in thing now.
Great, thanks. And a personal question from me: if you have UV hoods, do we still need scrubbers in the ductwork?
See, UV will only filter your grease, but there is smoke, there is smell from the kitchen. That again needs to be treated. And in Indian and our Nepal scenario, we have tandoors, we have grills, so we have a lot of smoke and ash also. So UV does not work properly in all these conditions. So we definitely need scrubbers. And that too with the carbon filters, so that you can eliminate the odor also. Because it's not advisable with your building, next could be an office. So they can't keep on smelling a bakery thing or a tandoori chicken smell all the day. So you need to have a very sorry?
If I work in that office, I might like that actually. But
that will invite you to your restaurant to have butter chicken then. Huh?
Sure. Yeah, maybe concentrate on the food than the work then.
True.
Thank you. Thanks, Neil. And that's what AiM does, right? We are sitting next to each other, and on the platform we are educating each other too. And the audience, I'm sure.
Thank you.
Thank you, Neil. Ashok ji, I think coming to you finally in the panel. So I think the most important thing that I find is everything is going digital. Everything is digitized. That's where, there's a very thin line between IT and MEP today. That's how I see it. Like Rajesh mentioned, POE lighting. You're trying to monitor every single data point. There's Chat GPT out there that's after my job. I hope I don't get redundant, but stuff like that is also happening in the market. So what's your take on the the IT, AV, MEP marriage, so as to speak, in hotels?
Yeah. Thanks, Kunal. Thanks, Kunal. Yeah, I concur with what my fellow panelists, said about the energy conservation and even the sustainability. Sustainability. We're talking about sustainability, sustainable, materials which being used. So when we talk about, this from the IT perspective, particularly when you talk about, so. We have already, even the brand standards are now recommending to reduce the number of servers which were ideally sitting in the server room. So on-premise servers I'm talking about. So they have reduced the number of servers and instead put most of the servers on cloud. So that practically saves a lot of space, then energy, and other operational costs also. Similarly, if we move as part of the ELV, if we move to the meeting spaces like this, or even the event spaces and meeting spaces where we had things like we have projectors and other things. So that's also now getting into the LED systems. We have direct LED systems. We are encouraging the project owners to go for LED systems, which has the extended life, much extended life, and that conserves a lot of energy at the same time. Besides giving a better performance in terms of the displays, the resolution, and other things. So that's part of the sustainable and a very efficient design as far as the ELV
Fantastic. I think most of our ELV systems are going on IP, and I think there's a lot of coordination going forward that IT, AV, and MEP, and of course kitchen needs to have, because everything's becoming smarter by the day. So I think, yeah, please.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thanks.
Lot of our equipment can be hooked into your building management system, and your chief engineer and the chef can easily monitor it, and a lot of power saving, energy saving can be done, just by monitoring.
True. I think the best part.
Yeah. I mean, just add up to what Neil said. If you have a cluster of hotels, like in any particular city, or even maybe in the different city, a particular owner is owning multiple hotels. So now the platforms are available, wherein you can remotely monitor things from a remote location. So that also saves a lot of energy, manpower, and other costs also.
Yeah, sure. So I think even in AiM we've heard a lot about interior talking to the architecture, and the architecture talking to the landscape, and everything being seamless. I think it's about time that all of us spend time in making our system seamless too. So we've got a little more time left on this panel, so I'd like to take quick 30 seconds from everybody on sustainability, because I think that's what is important finally, not just from a hotel perspective, hospitality perspective, but in general in our lives too, right? Starting with you, Prem.
So, not sustainability, I would reiterate again that we need to look around and take inspiration from our day-to-day life. Other industries are far ahead of us. We are the late adopters. I'll give a classic example. In one of our previous projects, Taj in Jaipur, we have done QR codes for panels, electrical panels. So we don't need to paste the whole drawing in the electrical room. If there is a failure, engineer goes, scans it, he gets the whole distribution on his phone. And he can zoom it and see where's the distribution, and because the downtime is very less. So it's all there, it's just that we need to adopt these. Second example is we've already adopted wireless BMS, as I mentioned during lunch. In most of our conversion properties, we're running kilometers of cables, and a conventional BMS is actually impossible. So there we have adopted wireless BMS, and it is successfully running. And the engineers get a dashboard on his mobile phone, alerts on his mobile phone if there is a failure, if there is a breakdown. So this is what I was saying.
Fantastic. Praveenji, your thoughts?
So in sustainability front, the energy definitely we are getting through the renewable sources. And we'll definitely get the renewable energy like solar, wind, hydel or tidal in years to come. But the water is the most precious thing, and we have to also think for the water conservation, because the next war I'm sure it will be on water only. So there are many practices, like what we use is the recycling of the water. We are using the low green fixtures, the low yield fixtures. So initially, like if you are just, no one uses now the flush. Initially it was the 18 to 20 liters of the per flush. Now the cistern is like 6 liter. And some manufacturers, they have further reduced to 4.8 and getting the same like the working. So I think we need to just conserve water. That is the primary.
Yeah, we need to save every drop, and I see a nice caption in every washroom in the rooms, which talks about it also in this hotel. Kimani sir, your thoughts, final thoughts?
Well, I think I have said enough on sustainability, and I think that's the only way forward. I don't think I have anything more to add because, all these are features that we are doing it day in and day out.
Thank you, sir. Renish?
For me, immediately, without incurring any cost, we should have on our thermostats one button which says Kaimin in Japanese or any other language you want to write. You say that this is a sleep mode. Your body metabolism decreases when you're sleeping. So your room air conditioner has been programmed to increase the temperature 1 degree every 2 hours. So the guest believes in you. He feels healthier. You save 20% power. Also, they should be on the light switch. There should be one which says, this is the optimum level of light. This is the most comfort for your visual aesthetics. So please do not stress yourself with the higher lighting. Again, you save light, energy. So this is for me immediate sustainability.
So Neil, concluding thoughts on sustainability?
Yeah. To save energy to go sustainable way, you don't have to really go very high tech sometimes. In laundries with simple processes and simple design inputs from you, we can just see when we do a wash cycle, the water what we release from our washer extractor is around 60 degrees, and which is waste. And there is a lot of chemical also, washing chemical, which is there, which can be reused. So simple, filtration of that water, take it to a tank and reuse it in the machine. And you're saving your water, you're saving on your energy, you're saving on your effluents also, and you're releasing less effluent to your ETP plant, making it more sustainable. So small things can also be done.
I just have one quick question. I know we've just run out of time, but I want to hear a little bit about the bottling plants that we are doing with you on.
Yeah, that's the in thing now. Almost all brands, including Marriott, we are sitting in, they are all going away from these packaged drinking water. And in all the back of house now, we have requirement for bottling plants, where the water is filtered and put in the glass bottles, and that is sent to your rooms. Almost every brand from Club Mahindras to Lemon Trees to Marriott, everybody is following that.
Fantastic. Concluding thoughts, sir?
Yeah, when we talk about on the same thing, we talked about PoE, for example. So PoE is increasingly getting more and more popular, more and more devices getting hooked to it. So simultaneously, it somewhere affects, it gives you a lot of cost saving as far as this is concerned. So besides this, we have, it's already started, IoT is also something which is very important, and it has again gained momentum in many things. It can be like, a simple example could be like, the kettle, the electric kettle inside the room, or maybe even the iron inside the room, electric iron. So it can be IoT enabled. Even the guest room block, they are, BLE enabled. So they in turn again save a lot of energy, and parallelly you can monitor it accordingly as per the guest.
Yeah, eventually, it's all about the data now, isn't it? So, like any thoroughbred MEP consultant, I just took a little extra time. So I hope that's okay, which we do across every drawing, I suppose. So, thank you so much. Thanks, everybody. Thank you.
We'd also like to open the floor for some question and answer. All right, so we already have 1, 2, 3, 4 hands raised, but we'll try and keep it short. Just your specific question, and to whom would you direct it?
Yeah, hi. So this is again a suggestion to the top minds of the top brands. In the engineering department, I think you've handled most of the issues. But one thing which has been missing has been the solid waste management. So that thing has been missing, and I've seen hotels in my city generating lot of waste, and it goes to the garbage dump. So something can be done about that, and it can be incorporated in the brand standards as well, so that you have the sustainable, because it is a very big issue. In every town, everywhere, we have garbage dumps, and we don't have government infrastructure to just process that. So if the brands can include that thing also in the standards and make it a part of their MEP, I think it would be a great.
Sorry, that question was to somebody? Oh, okay, all right.
Suggestion.
Okay, I think it was a very interesting panel, and Kunal, you made it quite lively, being the last panel and everybody's probably looking forward to their drinks. What was very interesting from all your discussions, and I think it was a very good discussion, what was very interesting, what came out was that, yes, everybody looks at CAPEX, but what I realized today is we should be looking at OPEX. So my question to this panel is that all of you, when you are consulting for different clients, do you also give an OPEX calculation to the client as part of your deliverables? And in that, you could also suggest certain options instead of just following a specific deliverable which needs to come in. So that's my question to the panel.
Can I? So, as soon as we are appointed on a job, after the question that what fees will you charge, the next question is how many rupees per square feet will be your MEP. So the moment you say anything more than 1,000 rupees, you are shot down. And yesterday Mr. Kaul was mentioning there are no men in the owner's team who educate, over-educate, and I have seen so many good no men in my life who will tell the owner, boss, ye Delhi ka consultant hai. Just stay here, he will try to sell you the maximum. I am your savior. A chiller should not cost more than 15,000 rupees a ton, okay? And so, we would love, I believe the trends are changing, people are understanding the value, and there are suggestions, there are plenty of them, but as you go to a doctor, he will give you the basic medicine, and if you ask him for the vitamins, he will be happy to do it only if you ask him. But if a doctor prescribes the vitamins, then you think he has been bribed by the medical representatives. So do ask us for the vitamins, we'll make you healthier.
Make it part of your deliverables. It's going to change how people look at MEP and MEP consultants.
Yeah, so I'll just take that question from you and specifically answer yes. We also go beyond capital and OPEX. We do a life cycle analysis of the entire system, and mostly that covers air conditioning, because air conditioning consumes, as I said earlier, is about 40% of my total power consumption of the whole hotel. And that's where I have different options where I can bring down the energy cost. Transformers, DG sets, all pumps, these are all very standard, and there is very little scope to, I can increase the efficiency of the motors. That's about that little differential would create, yes. But I think the major cost would come from air conditioning, and that's what we try and bring down.
So, sir, for this property, I have 3 box files full still of all that data that the client had asked. And it took a lot of effort, but I think we got there finally. So, yeah, we do that.
I think, whatever best you specify the latest technology and the trends, the first thing to go when the value engineering is being done is the technology.
Yeah, it was an honor to hear to all the eminent speakers on the dais. Very learning experience for myself being an MEP contractor. I have a query, like as just in continuation what Upal said. We're talking about sustainability and the OPEX. I'm sure the owners do understand everything, but still it boils down to how much. One thing which is left over sometimes in many of the projects which I have worked is the BMS. It comes to the end of the project, unfortunately. By the time the owner is exhausted with the money and the funds, because the IDP team has come in and so many other things are happening. But because of delay in BMS finalization and BMS specification, they actually end up in cutting the cost. यार क्यों लगाना है, कम में कर लो, let it take it off. But we put all the best of equipments, and while the proper BMS is not in place, actually makes really no sense. So what's the thought on this, sir?
Okay, you're asking me? You want to answer? I'll take it.
After you.
Okay, thanks. So it's not true that BMS it comes in the end. That's part of our package with all other tender packages. So BMS is part of our design, and it is decided, when the major services are being decided, maybe in a separation of about a month or so. So that's not really that they leave it till the end. It goes right there. Now the question is that how much the owner is willing to spend. If it's a resort property, for sure there is no way you can meet the manpower that will be required to switch on and switch off the equipment, and the people would be just running from one end of the property to the other if you had no BMS. And we are moving towards an era where BMS and all will be compulsory for every building that we design.
I'd like to add on to what Khemani Saab said. Taking his pardon, I have never been a strong supporter of BMS in the larger format what we have seen. I tend to agree with the owners that BMS lag to jata hai, chalta nahi hai. But let me tell you, the good news is that BMS is slowly being replaced by IoT. Now, what was happening was that earlier, you had 10 equipments in 10 corners, you were running kilometers of wiring, putting a central brain through mediation, smaller brains, taking the data, deciding and telling them what to do. Now, this is all gone. A Wi-Fi module probably, would not be costing more than 800 rupees today. And every light which will come in future probably will have a Wi-Fi, every chiller, every pump, everything will be already on Wi-Fi. So the cost of cable, which was very high in BMS, that will go. Number two, the common languages like LoRaWAN, they are coming very fast. All equipment manufacturers will be talking to each other. The standardization of language will happen. And BMS will remain in a different format, which will be much more user-friendly, much more useful for all of us. And this is going to happen very soon.
Hello. Mr. Rajneesh, you mentioned about water. Just out of curiosity, you were comparing water consumption at home to a hotel. The figure that you mentioned, does that take into account all the water consumed in the banquet halls, restaurants?
Kitchen, laundry is not included in this.
Yeah.
Kitchen and...
No, my question is, does that figure of 350 odd liters cover all these other services? Or
no, sir.
Is it just the room the room per person count?
So the breakup. So this 320 is bifurcated into 260 as domestic and 60 as flushing. 260, when you say domestic, it is for your brushing, for your gargles, for your bath only. And when you compare it to the National Building Code, what it specifies for residence is 90 plus 45. So 90 for domestic. That is why I said you don't take a bath 3 times in a hotel. So, which the code also very clearly says that please add 70 liters for every seat of your restaurant. Please add separately for your kitchen. So what we are doing is we are loading ourselves tremendously. On one side, the government says that save water, but on the other side, the same code tells you to plan your facility for 3 times consumption. That is why your STPs are never fully utilized. They never work properly.
Another question on drinking water. There's a huge debate about RO versus, the other ultraviolet, that filtered water. What is it that you people recommend?
Mountain water. But then I would say that we do all kind of projects, including hospitality. We do other projects also. There was a railway station that we were doing, and the government guidelines said potable water. So potable water means filtered and chlorinated. Period. RO is not that. So if you want drinking water, you do not require RO. That is, the houses which we get the water from municipal corporation, it is supposed to be potable, though it is not, on most of the water, but potable is never RO. RO is in addition, you want to be very sure that you don't get any kind of other particles into your body.
Yeah, because there have been comments. I mean, I'm not a technical person, but I do know that RO takes away all the mineral content, and therefore, in effect, it is unhealthy. That is what we've been told.
It removes both healthy and healthy, sir. Both.
Yeah, and in our hotels, what we've done, I mean, wherever I've been involved in as an advisor, we've tried to reintroduce filtered with ultraviolet, treatment.
So I'll just take that further a bit, So RO or normal water treatment plant, basically you do the water analysis. If your dissolved solids are very high, then you need an RO because you cannot do otherwise. But if your hardness is there, that can be removed through a softener plant and through normal water treatment plant. So you don't need an RO. I personally don't like to use RO because you require that amount of salts that are required by all of us. I mean, we should not bring the ppm to 3 or 4, which is practically 0, and that's not really good.
Yeah, and softener should do the kind of. Can a softener be calibrated to deliver the kind of salts you need? I'm asking a technical question. Can a softener be calibrated to deliver what you need? Then you don't need an RO. Yeah.
No, because if these solids are dissolved inside the water, you can either boil the water and remove the solids, or you need an RO. So desalination plant is one such example, where you desalinate the entire seawater and you make it potable. But that's by boiling, and that's very expensive. So RO is the next cheaper option. But if your dissolved solids are not there, you can easily treat it through normal water treatment plant.
And with that, we'd like to end, ladies and gentlemen, the last panel discussion. I'd like to request our moderator and our panelists to pick out a question that we're awarding this to. So while this discussion happens, ladies and gentlemen, can you please put our hands together for the last panel of the 11th edition of AiM Conference and Exposition? Who would? All right, so I think Manoj would like to give you this cash voucher, and may I please invite maybe on stage Anil sir to kindly present this cash voucher. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for being so interactive and asking questions throughout all our panel discussions in these past 2 days. And since Anil sir is already here, I'd also like to request him to kindly present this token of appreciation to our moderator and to our panelists as well. Can we please have the token of appreciation on stage? The beautiful hand-painted Tibetan Buddhist Thanka painting. We'd like to thank our moderator, Mr. Kunal. Thank you very much for bringing out the best out of all our panelists. We'd also like to thank Mr. Ashok for joining us in this panel. We extend our gratitude towards Mr. Neel Kamal Chauhan. We'd also like to thank Mr. Praveen Agrawal. We'd like to thank Mr. Rajneesh Agrawal. We'd also like to extend our gratitude towards Mr. Sunil Khemani and Mr. Prem Thakur as well. Ladies and gentlemen, can we please put our hands together one more time for this panel that discussed on the new essential elements for emerging hospitality market in MEP. Some fantastic points that they brought out, of course, because technology has to make our lives easier. Technology also has to make the world we live in a better place. So sustainability was also discussed, efficiency was also discussed, and we'd like to thank this panel one more time for their valuable inputs.